Hey everybody, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and I wanted to show you how to make this super cool camera card. So it does open, and I saw someone who went to On Stage. So basically, just to back up a smidge, if you've never watched me before, I'm Rachel the Stamper, and I am a Stampin' Up demonstrator. So when you go to this thing called On Stage, if you're a demonstrator, anyone who is a demonstrator is able to go, and anyone is able to join as a demonstrator. So just to make it is pretty inclusive. So you go and they show you the new products, like they showed us the new in colors and new stamp sets and everything. Well, when you get to go, sometimes they will pick people. You can kind of volunteer yourself for it, and they will pick people to demonstrate new products that they have to display. So someone on Facebook made this awesome card that looks like a camera, but there is actual stamp set that you can use to make it. It's in the new catalog. However, because it's inside the catalog and I don't actually have it in my possession, I can't share it with you yet. But it's really cool. So basically it has some images that are like these circles, but say it's a circle and then the circle be like this, but actually this whole thing here is an outline and then the circle is the design. And there's also a square, or I should say a rectangle, that has like different frames of rectangles. It's really neat. And I thought it would make a really great card for my friend. She loves taking pictures. She's an amazing photographer, but I don't have the stamp set yet. So I thought instead what I would do is make it a little card out of some smoky slate, some basic gray, and what I used were the layering circles. So I'm going to show you how I made this today, and you can actually differ it a little bit if you want to. So I'm going to do my best to show you how I made it. I kind of winged it a little bit because the way I started it and the way it ended up are a little bit different, but I'm going to show you. It's a very simple card to make. And again, you can use a lighter color. So I did a darker color for this one here. This is a basic gray. I'm going to make one in a lighter color. So I'm going to make this in smoky slate, but we're still going to have the black layer. And then we're going to use the darker gray as the camera. So it's the lens that basically opens up is what it looks like. And then they had this little cute kind of flash bulb that they had there. So this card is it's a smaller card. That's a little bookworm I draw on all my cards that I make for all my family and friends. So this card measures, so it's 8 by about 3 1/4. Okay, so 3 1/4 by 8. So you can basically, you could get 3 of these out of one piece of cardstock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this at, oops, I'm trying to see if I can do it correctly, 3 1/4. And we'll make this one, just since the card stock is already a half piece, so we'll make this one, we'll score this one at 4 1/4. So this should be 8 1/2. Let's see, in total, 8 1/2. So this is 8 1/2 by 3 1/4, I think is what I said. Yeah, 3 1/4. So we're just going to make this into the piece of cardstock. So it's going to be just a teeny bit bigger than the other one. But it was very simple. We're going to use a piece of black, and I kind of just trimmed this big enough to fit. So this is, I think we said we went with 3, so we'll do this at 3. See if that fits on there, okay? So it's kind of just like the background space. So this is about, I think, 3 by 3 square, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, about 2 3/4 by 3 square. Okay, so that's going to set right on the front there. We're also going to need a little piece for the scrap. And again, I kind of just punched out a little square. You could just hand trim off a piece off of the end. So I'll just put a little piece here off the end, and this will be our little flash bulb. And then the rest of it, I'm going to get out the little bit darker gray. So I kind of want to show you what I did with the other one to be able to get these rings. So hopefully it will make a little bit more sense to you. Let me just move my trimmer out of the way. So this card is a little bit of kind of trial and error depending on how you're doing it. And here's my smoky slate. You can use some scraps for it, which is good. So you can use up your scrap pieces. So essentially what you're doing, and I left these taped together so I could show you. So what you're doing is you're kind of cutting out these concentric circles to make the layers. Okay, so I found that it was easiest to decide which ones you want. And what I did was I cut them, and then I went back and I re-trimmed them again because they were just a little bit too fat. So I ended up with these pieces that looked like this. So I had a really fat piece, and then I kind of cut part of the circle off to make it thinner. And then I ended up with the second layer inside, and then there was like another layer on the inside here. So I'm going to show you how to do it. It is fairly simple. I'm making it sound entirely more complicated than it is. But we are going to use a couple of the other circles just to retrim. So I will show you those as we go along as well. So right now we have our base for our card. And we have also our little flash bulb. So before we do the cutting, I'm going to just show you how to do this really quickly. And again, this is very simple. It's just whatever you want to make of it. So what I did was I went around with either, you can use your Stampin' Up black marker or, you know, any other kind of a black pen that you have that you like. I also use this is a envelope addressing pen. This is permanent. This will not come off of anything. So it is not water soluble. And what I did is I kind of just traced like some black lines to kind of like mimic that set, what it looked like. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I just did some black lines around the edge. And once you see the actual physical stamp set, and once I can order it, I will order it because I would love to be able to share it with you. It was really, really neat. And it's kind of just a lot of basically, it's shapes, it's outlines of shapes, but it will make it really cool to be able to make this. So I just put some lines on there. Again, it doesn't have to be precise. And then I did the same thing with the flash bulb part. Kind of just slid it back and forth a little bit. And then I'm going to do a little bit on the top. And again, you do want to make sure you let your ink dry. So this will be for our top, for our little flash bulb, which we can tuck that in the back. And your lines can be very precise. So this one I did line them up so they were kind of all like almost like nesting picture frames, if that makes sense. So I just went around and did that. And then the other cool thing is once you have the stamp set, the nice part about the circles is you won't have to go through and add the details like I did, because I put all these little dots and lines on there. I was trying to make it look similar to it. And again, once I can share it with you, it will make much more sense, but this is kind of how I did it for now. So this is going to be another layer that's going to go on, and we're going to use these two circles. So I'm going to grab the Big Shot, and I only really, you can do 2 sets of these, only because that way you can kind of layer them together. And then you'll have dimensions. So if you see on these, I put one underneath and then I put a foam layer in between and then put another one on top. So I kind of gave the camera more dimension. So you could even pop this out further so it looks like it's coming out to shoot the picture. So what I'm going to do is I have my 3 layers here held together by my piece of painter's tape. And I'm going to attempt to run this through twice. I don't know if this paper is big enough, but... And the cool part was once I got it lined up, I laid these down. So you could do the same thing with this, is you lay them down kind of how you want it. And then I put the tape there just to hold them in place so I could make sure they were both uniform. So here are our 3 layers that we cut out. All right, so the third one, oops, I don't think that one went through. The third one, I'm going to pop this out just a little. I didn't put it in there far enough. This was kind of just to make the hole so you could see the black lens through there. So I'm going to see if I can kind of fit these. Hopefully. I'll see if I can fit that on there one more time. So you really would want 2 layers. That way you can get it to line up exactly. Worst case scenario, if any part of this doesn't exactly cut out circular, I can use that for the bottom layer because you wouldn't see it anyway. All right, so now we have our second layer. All right, so again, we have our 3 layers here. So what these are is out of the layering circle. So this is the largest layer circle here. So that one would go over here. The largest, then it will be the 3rd largest because this is the 2nd largest. The 3rd largest, and then the smallest circle here. Okay, so I will measure these and put them on, that way in case you wanted to make the exact circle, I'll tell you which ones to use. So then what you're going to go back and do is you're going to take your circles that you already cut. So of course this one I didn't exactly cut either. So I'm going to take my circle that I already cut and I'm going to just kind of eyeball it. And I'm just making it a little thinner, so it's a little bit more like this rim. So this is just a little bit fat, if you can see. If this is laying on here, it's going to cover kind of a lot of space. So I just went with the next size down, just to trim it up a little bit. And then I did the same thing with this other circle, which is going to be this second layering circle. So I just took, this is the second or the 3rd from the smallest. And I did the same thing. I just lined it up, kind of so it was pretty much centered in the circle. Doesn't have to be exact. And then I just ran these through one more time. See if I can line this up without moving them. Okay, and then I'm going to do this twice because I have to cut both layers. Okay, so then you're going to end up with these extra pieces. So this little skinny one we really don't need, but we are going to keep the fatter one. Okay, and then the same thing for this. We don't really need the inside one. We're going to keep the, oh, no, I'm sorry. We do need the inside one. The inside one is the one you want for your layer. And then we're going to just do this one more time with our other pieces that are left. Let me see if I can find, where did my other circle go? Well, gotta be around here somewhere. Let's see, so I have my one, oh, here it is. So I'm going to do the same thing again. So I have my bigger circle, and I'm just lining up just to trim a little bit out of it. And then this one is the smaller circle, as you can see here. Okay, so then all I'm going to do is just put my cutting pad on, and you'll see I'm going to crank both of these through the big shot. So same thing again, I'm just cutting these circles down a little bit smaller. Okay, I'll move this out of the way so you can see. So then, once again, so this time I'm going to take the inside circle. So this is the out. I'm going to take the inside circle. So I have two of these now that, for the most part, line up. And then this is the outside. I'm going to take the outer circle, and this is going to be for the bigger part of the camera. So I have two of these that are going to line up. Okay, so I have both of those. And then, again, you could use the smaller ones if you had another project maybe to use them for. But I will put on these, again, which ones they are that you want to use for these, okay? So I've got all these extra circles now. I need to figure out something to do with those. We don't need these little inside circles, so you can just get rid of them altogether. All right, so now what you're going to do, and this again is just up to you with what you do or don't want to decorate, okay? So you can take your Stampin' Write marker with your pen side, and if you want, you can kind of draw some circles around here. They don't have to be exact. They can be exact if you want to trace them. You could put just some dots. So it kind of just gives like a little bit of an element of something for these to be, but you don't have to do that. That's up to you. You can do the same thing with this. You could just draw like little half circles just to kind of give it a little bit more detail. But once you see this other stamp set come out, it will make much more sense how these look. So I'm just going to go just around the side and just put some little, kind of like the little dots that you see on cameras. They have like little flecks of the metal. And another thing you could do too, if you didn't want to do the circles or you weren't really thrilled with how the circles were turning out, is you could sponge them just to give it a little bit of dimension. So I'm just going to go around. Okay, so now what we're going to do, and I thought I had, yep, you're there. I was going to say I have my little foam strips. So you have your foam strips, and here's what we're going to do. So on the second card this time, I'm going to actually make this one pop out a little bit more, almost like the camera is popping out. So we're going to try that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my foam strip, and I'm going to press it onto the circle. And again, if it's easier for you to trim these, you can do that as well. What I'm doing is just kind of lining it up to follow the circle. Just like that. And then once you get it how you want it, just give it a push, okay? Now, I said I do want to put 2 layers on this one so it looks more so like the camera's popping out. So I'm going to pull the release paper off, and then I'm going to grab another strip, okay? And I'm going to just layer this right on top. So once again, I'm just following the circle. So this will almost look like the camera is opening up to shoot to take a picture. And then all you have to do, just take your paper snips and you can just trim. Okay, this doesn't have to be a perfectly closed circle because you're not using for that. I'm going to set this on the side, and I'm going to use the rest of that for this other bigger circle. So same thing again. Just take your foam tape, and we'll do another one. You want to try not to pull it too tight because you definitely don't want it to pull up. However, once you lay it down, it definitely it will stay flat. It will stay in a circle. It won't be bent up. All right, and we're going to trim that right here. And this one came discombobulated. Whoops. So I'm going to trim this and show you. In case you ever get one where the release paper comes off, what I kind of do is just hold it straight and I'll just press it back on. And then I will just put this, it's easier to show you like this. I'll just put this so it lines up next to the paper that it's with, next to the other strips. And then I'll just take this little piece, because this is going to come off anyway, and I'll just cover this. That way you can save it for when you're ready to use it. Okay, so that's perfectly safe in there. It's not going to get messed up, because what I usually will do is I'll slide these back in just to keep them all together. So again, I want to just make sure there's no bumps, and we don't want anything like sticking out. Okay, so we're going to put this, took all of our release paper off, so we're going to just line up the best you can. And again, just take your time. You can set it down and line them up. You're just going to press. So there's your first ring. And then once you get it on where you want it, just give it a good press so it stays sealed. I'm going to take this one off, second release paper. This is for the second lens. And same thing again, I'm just going to take my smaller circle and just kind of line this up. If you were really concerned with the white, you could also take a Sharpie and you could go around and fill it in, but it's going to be flat, so it really should not be noticeable. It's going to just kind of be more so like it's opening. Okay, so now we have our 2 layers. What we're going to do is take a little bit of snail, and we're going to put this onto the bottom. This is our flash bulb. Gosh, talk about dating myself. I don't think people even use flash bulbs anymore, but we're going to stick this here. That'll be our flash. Another thing you could do if you wanted to step it up a little level, you could take a little bit of silver foil paper and put that on there. Or you could even do like a little bit of Pool Party or Soft Sky just for the blue flash. I'm just going to make sure I push this. And there's my bone folder. I just want to push with my bone folder. You could also use Fast Fuse if you wanted to. So you're going to take your little square. And again, we're still kind of in the lining up phases here. So we're just going to see how we like it. Make sure it looks good. And I like this one now that it's sticking out a little bit more. If you wanted to trim this up just a hair so you could see your lines, which I want to do, to make this just a hair shorter. So that's 3. So I'm going to make this about, just take like a 1/16 of an inch off and see how that looks, if that's better. Yeah, just so it kind of fits in the square. Yeah, because we want it to be like almost top to bottom with the lines. There we go. That'll be nice. All right, so all I'm going to do is just put some snail on here, just to hold this down. Okay, and again, I'm just setting it there. I'm not really pressing it yet because I want to make sure I like the way that it's situated, make sure it's straight. Okay, and then I had my, oh goodness, I had it and I don't know where I put it. Nope. I don't know. Anyway, I had my, here it is, my silicone mat, which would be very, very helpful for doing these circles. Sorry about that. So take your silicone mat, and you can set it down, and you can use this to put your adhesive onto your circle. Just rotate it. I know it is up a little bit, so it really wouldn't matter, but if you ever were gluing circles down and they're flat, if you put them on while you have your mat, nothing will stick to this. So I'm going to just kind of set, it's that little piece that stuck out. I'm going to just set this here. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing with the other layer. And I'm just kind of rubbing my little bits of adhesive that were sticking out so they don't show. So straight through there. You can always tuck this in a little bit if you need to. There we go. And I'm going to just press. So there you have a cute little camera card. Just like that, just a little mini card. And again, this will fit into a regular size envelope since it is a little bit smaller of a card. But you could also go through, I did do a little bit of sponging on this one, so you could go through and do a little bit of sponging on this. But how cute is that? So a little point and shoot camera card. So thank you guys for joining as always, and I look forward to being able to share this actual stamp set with you until we have this little imposter right now that we're sticking out. So it kind of looks like he's opening up, the camera's opening up to shoot. So anyway, really cute little card, and I will find out who shared this card and absolutely give her credit because she did a great job of designing this with just looking at that cool stamp set. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email at rachthestamper@gmail.com, but I will make sure that I put all of these circles and which ones I used. I'll take a picture of the circles together so you know which ones I used for these, and then you can make your own version of the camera card. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a great day.